one of the most popular Vajrayana practices in our centres and in many Western Dharma centres, well, it's Tibetan obviously, is the sadhana of the deity Chenrezik, who's the embodiment of the compassion of all the Buddhas, called Drodön Kachakma, limitlessly benefiting all beings. And this was composed in the 15th century by a Tibetan master called Tangtong Gyalpo, which is a kind of nickname because the name actually means the king of the empty plain. So he's actually one of the most colourful and remarkable, interesting, exciting even, I would say, characters in Buddhist history, I'd say. Because he is a man of many parts. That's definitely true about him. So Tangtong Gyalpo started off his early Dharma career in the Sakya school, in our Sakya school. In fact, at some time he studied in the monastic university of Ngor in the Sang province of Tibet, and met, in fact, the great founder of the Ngor monastery, Nochen Kongazampo, as one of the towering figures in Sakya Buddhist history, very famous for his mastery of the Labdrön. But Tangtong Gyalpo was a wanderer and wandered all over Tibet. And also, one could say that in terms of his Dharma studies and practice, because although he had this connection with, and never lost his connection with the Sakya tradition, he wandered from place to place, picking up teachings from many different masters, many different practitioners of different traditions and different trends within Buddhism. So, for instance, Tangtong Gyalpo made a strong connection with the Shangpa Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. The Shangpa lineage went back to two great Indian yoginis, Niguma and Sukhasiddhi, been brought to Tibet by their disciple, Chumpul Naljo, in the 11th century. So it was a very yogic tradition, not so monastic actually, a very yogic tradition. And from them, Tangtong Gyalpo learned different practices of Mahamudra and the 6 Dharmas of Niguma, some completion stage yogic practices. But at the same time, also Tangtong Gyalpo was very drawn to the teaching of Chöd, or cutting or severing ego, which again had a connection with an earlier great yogin, a female practitioner, Machik Labdrön, who lived in the late 11th, early 12th century. So he was a strong proponent of Chöd practice. And again, just to extend his to show how extensive his kind of connections are, he was drawn also to the Nyingma tradition of Guru Padmasambhava. And in fact, as one strong element in the Nyingma teaching was the teachings of treasures, recovered teachings that had been concealed by Padmasambhava in the 8th century. Tangtong Gyalpo was also a treasure revealer. He revealed treasures from that time, usually through visionary means. So he was a visionary, he was a yogin, he was quite learned, not particularly famous scholar, but learned enough in the fundamental Dharma. And he also was an engineer. So his dedication to the people of Tibet and to helping the people of Tibet manifested therefore in both religious ways, through teaching the Dharma, but also through through physical means. One of the things in that respect, he built bridges. He constructed suspension bridges across some of the most kind of treacherous stretches of river in Tibet, like the Brahmaputra, across the Brahmaputra or Sangpo River and so on. He actually built these bridges, became very famous. To construct these bridges, he would, of course, have to kind of hire a lot of people to work on the bridges. But he was very concerned with their Dharma welfare too. So, and this is where the Drodön Kachakma, the Chenrezik, comes in, because Tangtong Gyalpo devoted himself very much to Chenrezik practice. And he thought that it's important that ordinary people can practice this meditation. So he, out of his visions, created this meditation on Chenrezik with the mantra practice and visualizations and so on. And he taught it so that the people would practice the meditation and chant the mantra while they're building the bridges under his supervision. So you could say Tangtong Gyalpo was determined to take the Dharma out of the monasteries and to the common people. And one of his main methods of doing that was by spreading the Chenrezik practice. But that wasn't all. Tangtong Gyalpo, again as part of his kind of mission to the common people, I'd say, thought that people needed educating in the fundamentals of Dharma. And because many Tibetan lay people could not read, how to get the Dharma teachings to them. So he therefore created 6 main dramas. Sometimes they're called operas in Western books. 6 main dramas featuring like the life of Milarepa, lives of different bodhisattvas and so on. And they were dramas in the sense that they'd have a kind of, there'd be a storyline, there'd be singing and dancing, which Tibetans, of course, love. Singing and dancing, colourful costumes. Women would dress up as goddesses. Bodhisattvas would appear. Somebody would play Milarepa, somebody would play this. So he created these 6 main dramas. Sometimes they're called Lhamo. Lhamo just means goddess because of the appearance of the girls dressed as goddesses in these dramas. And they would tour around. So Tangtong Gyalpo formed theatrical troupes. He wrote the play, so to speak, directed them and produced them. And they would tour around transmitting the Dharma in this way. And in fact, Tibetan drama, even today, is still kind of continuing the tradition of Tangtong Gyalpo. Whenever the Tibetan opera is performed, there's always a character who comes on who's dressed as Tangtong Gyalpo, and a kind of verse of homage is made to him. Tangtong Gyalpo was not a monk. He may have been one early on in his life, but he was a yogi, so he had consort and even he had children and everything. And so in his appearance, his appearance is very kind of striking because he's got a long beard, he's got a kind of yogic costume, and often he's portrayed holding some iron chains in his hand. That's to denote the bridges that he constructed. So Tangtong Gyalpo was not your kind of average, tame-looking monastic. He was a wild and kind of woolly-looking guy. And he stuck around. To benefit beings, he stuck around. In fact, it's said that he lived till he was 125. And although this seems a little improbable, it's not totally impossible because there have been serious histories written of Tangtong Gyalpo. In fact, there's even one been published in English called King of the Empty Plain, which you can read. And it seems the dates are pretty strong, maybe not entirely totally true, but pretty strong because of all the interactions he had with other figures who we know as really solid historical characters. And as for the long life, well, as part of his visions, one series of visions Tangtong Gyalpo had was of Amitayus and Hayagriva, Amitayus being the Buddha of long life. And a very important series of initiations and rituals came from that, called the Chimipalta, the glorious treasure of immortality. And quite often, when we give long life initiations today, it's from that very lineage of Tangtong Gyalpo. So did he form a school, his own school? Not really. He was not a school maker. He was not an institution maker. He was too much of a wanderer for that. But his teachings survive in the different traditions, in Sakya, in Kagyu, in Nyingma, even to a certain extent in Gelug. So he's one of the great characters of Tibetan Dharma. So please, if you have the chance, try to read this biography of him. King of the Empty Plains is translated by the very good Sakya scholar Cyrus Stearns.